Welcome to the American Contractor Show. I'm your host, John Dye. And today's episode is all about training. And that's something that I'm really passionate about with Art of the Supplement and Balance Claims. And where I come from in the industry, I think that training is one of the most important aspects as we progress our companies and progress our careers in contracting. And so today, though, our guest is Andrew Behrens from C3 Group. And C3 Group has put together one of the most comprehensive training platforms for when it comes to claims and understanding the claims process from the perspective of not just a public adjuster, but as a contractor as well, on some of the things that you guys need to be doing in order to really understand the claims process and get a better grasp on tools like Xactimate. And so they put together a level 1 as well as a level 2 certification that is all done virtually through their training platform for Xactimate. So if you want to learn how to use Xactimate, you need to check this training out, and I'm excited to get to show it to you right here on the American Contractor Show. Welcome to the American Contractor Show, the show that's all about American contractors living the American dream. I'm your host, John Dye. Each episode will introduce you to contractors just like you who have beaten the odds and leveled up their game to become the dominant force in their markets. Together, we'll explore the tools and tactics that unlock the secrets to their success. Join me as we begin the journey that leads to the realization of your American dream. And welcome back. We have Andrew Behrens with us from C3 Group, one of the most well-known and respected public adjusting firms in the nation. And Andrew, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having us, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for spending some time and showing us this new software you guys have created, this new training platform. Which I'm a big believer in training. We travel around the country training contractors as well, and what you guys are doing with Xactimate it's really a game changer.
Yeah, man, we're really excited to push it out. A lot's kind of led up to the creation of this, and we think it'll be really well received on really all sides, but especially the contracting and the public adjusting side.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people don't realize that you guys have such a robust training program at C3 Group for not just contractors, but your internal staff and everyone else. And you guys building this out, like, what was the journey that got you to this point?
That is it's a very good question. I would honestly say, for me personally, being the director of investigations, I've seen a lot of people kind of look at estimation as kind of the dirty job, the job that can never be consistent, just kind of a number, and really what helped the success of C3, one of the numerous kind of factors and variables was kind of making estimation really consistent, regardless of who's estimating, really consistent. And that kind of led into pursuing and investing in estimation. And that really just turned to, Xactimate credentials. And then that's what led me to get my trainer. And then subsequently what led me to create this portal. So
that's so cool, man. And, I always look at Xactimate and what the system really is. A lot of people think of it as a way to make a lot more money, but in reality, it's really just speaking a new language that, is kind of the universal construction language for restoration work.
Yeah, correct. And you're right. I mean, there's a lot of misperceptions out there about Xactimate. I think a lot of people, especially on the other side, on the carrier side, they kind of view Xactimate as just kind of, it is what it is, and it's a lot more user-friendly and a lot more reliant on user inputs than a lot of people think. So kind of to get to the point of being knowledgeable about that, you have to know how that software works.
Yeah, for sure. And understanding that when you use properly, what you're really just doing is communicating what is real construction components in a way that we can, show what it is that is actually being done on these jobs. And that's the biggest misconception, I think, because everyone thinks, well, if I do this and add this little fluff here, or I do this over here, or the insurance carriers, we're going to do things based on these guidelines. What you're really doing is you're basically just cutting off the communication or adding too much communication, and that's not really relevant to the actual what's really happening on the house. And so I really appreciate you guys doing this and putting this together.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. We're really have the goal of making sure that people using Xactimate understand that you can use it if you're using it to the fullest extent possible to really represent your actual costs or represent the actual scope, and you're right. A lot of people throw in items that they're really just using Xactimate to get to kind of this lump sum figure, and they don't really care about the line items. They care about that in costs. And we're really trying to kind of revamp how people think about Xactimate, and that you can provide user inputs to actually match what you need. So if it's heavily criticized, whether it be in litigation or even just with a simple adjuster communication, that's successful.
No, you're right, man. And so I'm excited to see it. I got my laptop out over here, and I'm gonna follow along here and just kind of let you show us this platform, because I love training. I think training is one of the most important things, and this is one of the first times that Xactimate training has gone online. Is that correct?
It's partially correct. In my experience, this is kind of the only one that's set up like it is. There's limited options as far as Xactimate training, really. I mean, you have physical in classroom 2 to 3 day courses. And one of the issues with that historically has been anyone that goes to a 2 to 3 day class, the retention of information becomes a problem because you're just hammered with all this information at once. And a lot of times students leave that with more questions 2 to 3 weeks later, and then nowhere really to go. The other alternative is now with COVID and that whole scene, we have virtual trainings, which kind of mimic the physical classroom setting, but over a 2 to 3 day course virtually. So kind of the idea behind this was to create a digital self-paced program that follows the workbooks that Xactimate uses for training. And then in addition to that, provide direct interaction with a trainer, which would be me, to kind of fill up any gaps. And when you look at Xactimate, I think a lot of people think, oh, if I know Xactimate, I know estimating. And that's totally untrue. You really have to have the ability to estimate. You have to know building construction codes, all of those things. And when you pair that with really good knowledge and a really good foundation of Xactimate, it's a really great combination. So that was the intention of this, really just to provide people out there, a number of ways to increase their education, regardless of the role that they play, whether they're a contractor, a supplementer, a PA. And even on the other side, I think that, a lack of education is not just on our side, it's on their side. Everyone knows that. And I don't know if you knew this, but if you look at like the user certification directory and you compare it to claim handling professionals, and this is excluding contractors even, there's like a 1% certification rate for level 1. I mean, there's like 0.1% for level 3. So again, we know that a lot of people going into negotiations or representing losses, it's one thing to be like, I know the program, but it's another thing to prove to others that you know the program. And you can really only do that through certification.
So this actually does give you your certifications with whether it be level 1, level 2, level 3, you can go all the way to level 3 using this program?
So we're developing level 3. Hopefully within 6 to 12 months, we'll have that finalized. That being said, there's a huge learning gap out there with just level 1 and 2 content. So that's where we kind of started this. But yes, within each class, whether a user just is coming in brand new and they just want a level 1 cert to show they know the fundamentals, we have that option. And then we have a level 2, and then we have a bundled level 1 and 2. And each one of those options actually include the certification exam, with really that being the end goal. So we don't even allow an option for a user to come in and train without bundling that in, because we think it's so important. And we think if you're serious about education and training, you should be pursuing that certification. So,
right. No, getting level 1 and level 2 is more than most people do, and obviously level 3 is it's a difficult certification. I know that. I don't know what the number is right now, but I remember like a year ago when it came to X1, it was like maybe 30, 40 people were even level 3 certified. I'm curious to know what that number is now, but I know it's got to be not that much.
No, you're correct. And the new version X1, it's rolling out pretty soon. It'll be just known as Xactimate. They're actually phasing out Xactimate 28. The end of next year, 2021. But you're right. I mean, there's like 0.1% that are level 3. So eventually we hope to launch level 3, but just starting for now, we just think even level 1 and 2, you're going to be within the top 1%. And that has such a huge effect in negotiating your claims that you're working with. So,
well, cool, man. Well, let's dive in and take a look at this.
For sure, man. So we know that a lot of users out there, there's some people going to be brand new. There's some people going to be having maybe 10 years of experience that have been around Xactimate, but they've never taken formal training. So right off the bat, we created what's called a placement test, which everyone knows what that is, but we basically include level 1 questions in that, and it's free. So anyone that comes in here, if they're like, I don't know if I need 1 or 2, or if I need like half of 1 and part of 2, where am I at, they can actually take the placement exam, add that into their cart, become a user. And then depending on the results of that, if they pass within 80%, it'll actually allow them to just take level 2. At that point, let's say they add it to their cart, they can just simply add, let's say, bundled level 1 and 2 to their cart. Once they're logged in, they're going to get an enrollment email basically where it introduces them to the program. It gives them basically access to an online digital workbook. So this is the Xactware workbook for level 1 and 2, fundamentals and proficiency. And we basically mimicked when they log into the program, they can actually go through, and there's videos that fall along with that workbook flow. So we know a lot of people have varying kind of needs as far as learning goes. A lot of people like that, person-to-person contact. A lot of people, they can watch just a video. A lot of people like to read the workbook. So with this, you really have all of that. You can go through all of it in 2 days. You could go through all of it in 240 days. So it really gives a user the ability to decide what they want and need. And then in addition to that, so let me just show you this, like going down fundamentals, chapter 1, writing your first estimate. They're going to see that if they go into the workbook, they have the same flow as that workbook. So let's say you're a user that knows the program pretty well. You can simply skim through the workbook and be like, I don't know that at all. And you can really find that structure within the program itself too. And then let's say, you have some questions that are outside of the workbook. Maybe there's situations that you come across where, you say, the adjuster's never paying for starter or ridge cap. They say it's included in waste. How do I go about that? You can, of course, always ask those type of questions in the virtual trainings. But we also provide some resources over here to kind of touch on those topics. But basically with level 1 and level 2, we have 6 sessions per level. So if you enroll in just level 1, you have 6 hour-and-a-half sessions that you can enroll in if you want. It's optional. But if you have a question throughout that course and you're like, I don't know the answer to this, you simply bring it up in virtual training. So it really just provides a lot of spread out training that kind of not just is this lump of information at the front and then you're just expected to go on and use it. It's kind of interlaced with your day-to-day, and that really is, hoping to be very efficient and productive for people wanting to pursue training.
That's pretty cool. And this is all web-based, right? So it's not, is there anything to download or?
Yeah, so you can actually, there's a mobile application that you can download. It's iOS friendly and it's on the Android market. And you can log in and you can actually download all the courses. So you can listen to it in your car. You could watch it on an airplane. There's a lot of convenience with that. The workbook that is digitally provided, that's also, there's also a mobile application for that. If we go into the resources, let's say you want to talk about, overhead profit, the white papers that Xactware publishes, you can go right in here and access that. You can access a lot of C3's white papers that we've actually published. So let's say you want to talk about the roof flashing and component issue. You can simply just click that link and review kind of our stance on this. One of the issues too that I see a lot of people, they kind of get frustrated with Xactimate in general because they feel like they don't have the control. And of course, they don't have their certifications to really, better that. But at the same time, they feel like there's not a lot out there that helps them on like a set stance, And a lot of people don't know that Xactware provides a ton of information to substantiate a lot of the positions that we face daily. So C3 Group's really trying to get better at providing documents like this that can be used across the board, whether it's on waste factor, that really have a huge effect on a vast majority of claims that people just kind of give up on. So we want to have a good impact on not just investing in the individual and training them, but also really the whole industry and how they use Xactimate, knowing that it's misused daily.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. I think people don't understand the depth of Xactimate and how deep it can really get and how detailed it is. I mean, when you get into the components and into all the little, nits and, nuts and bolts of every little line item, there's, a bunch of numbers that come together to create that one line item. And you can manipulate those numbers to what they really need to be. Like, for example, one thing that we've noticed a lot at Art of the Supplement this year was decking. Decking prices have just skyrocketed. Xactimate hasn't kept up with it. A lot of contractors aren't aware that you can actually go into Xactimate and see what the actual component price is for decking by the square foot and change that number. And that's where you'll find that you can really, make sure that you are applying the correct price to all your components.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. And I think a lot of people, because they don't have that formal training, they don't understand kind of the burden that's placed on the estimator. Let's say you're negotiating a claim. A lot of times insurance carriers are like, well, this is all I'm allowed to pay for. This is all Xactimate allows for. Sorry, that's all I can do. And with formal training, you should understand that Xactimate is intended to hit a median price point, and you have 50% of the pricing market above that and 50% below that. So, without a doubt, there are going to be times where you run into issues in Xactimate where it doesn't maybe touch your costs, or maybe it's way too much. It's on both sides. So I think really the education component of that is huge, and not only understanding that, but also presenting it. I know like labor rates have been a huge topic of discussion. That Xactimate literally doesn't give you direction on when to change that. And that's really the estimator's role. But I think a lot of times those are the things that gets lost kind of in translation. They think of Xactimate dictates labor rates. And it's like, no, you're still an estimator. You still have that obligation. And if you present a labor rate change, let's say, and the other side says, can't do that, it's manipulation, it's not a default. I mean, in level 1 content in the fundamentals workbook, it literally talks about how the user should understand the importance of the trade selection, things like that. So a lot of the verbiage that you can use to defend yourself are within these training programs or with direct interaction with a trainer such as myself. So we think it's going to be very big, and I think it's really just getting people to understand the importance of training.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. People don't understand the importance of getting into this stuff. They just put the numbers in and it comes out and like, oh, it's cool, whatever. Yeah. No, but there's so much more to it. So do you mind showing us one of the lessons, maybe just kind of get a feel for what these lessons are like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go down into level 2, and I'm going to talk about waste factor. There's a lot of lessons in here, so I'm still in fundamentals.
Yeah.
So let me try to get down to... So there's actually about 6 hours of digital pre-recorded content in level 1, and there's about 6 hours, 20 minutes in level 2. And then, of course, if you take into account some of the live virtual trainings, you had about 9 hours per lesson.
Wow.
So we can talk about, let's just say, floor covering tools, which, as a roofer, you might not use this, but a lot of these tools can be used, on roofing as well. So graphical estimation opens up a whole other world of tools in Xactimate called floor covering tools. These are huge because it really opens
That's cool.
the ability to automatically calculate.
So these lessons are all just like you would get in an Xactimate course. You're going to actually be able to see what's going on and actually interact with the, with the actual program.
Yeah, and that's correct. And, like I said, a lot of people, I think they take a class, and I've heard feedback from a lot of students, not hitting on any trainers. I think that there's a time and place for physical classroom settings, and a lot of students prefer that, and that's just fine. But I think a lot of people, they go to those and they get hit with all this information, and there's one part of that lesson, let's say, they just don't remember. So you're exactly right. This follows the workbook flow. It's just like as if you were in a physical classroom setting following the workbook, with the exception, it gives you the advantage of kind of going back to content you may not understand. If you understand it and it's kind of boring to you, you can literally just take this and scroll through it. And we allow you to kind of seek through that video. And then basically what we do, just like the workbooks, there are examinations or, quizzes at the end. So if you're like, what, I think I know chapter 3 and proficiency, you can literally go in here and start that quiz. And you can take this, see how you do. And it actually gives you feedback. So right here, related item search method and similar item search method can be used in the exact same way. If you say, let's say false, and you submit that, it's going to give you feedback and kind of explain why, so if you have someone that kind of guessed, at least it explains it and they can kind of read that if they want. If they get it wrong, it gives you feedback because we don't want you to just fail. We want you to understand it. So they can go through those exams. Really the only prerequisites to passing is that they at least open up the videos and scroll to the end, even if they understand it. And then they have to pass the quizzes within 80% in the chapters. And that's really because the Xactware certification, it requires you to have a 70%. So we want to have a little wiggle room there so you're not sitting off to, failure. But
right.
It's really set up to allow you the convenience of really learning what you want. And if you already know something, being able to skip that.
I like it, man. And I think that a lot of our viewers that are doing insurance work or have ever gotten involved with Xactimate or had to mess with it, they would appreciate this a lot. What's been the response on your guys' end right now from the industry?
It's been great. I think it's still relatively new, obviously. So no one's completed the program just because we allow you basically 120 days per level and 240 days for level 1 and 2. So we think a lot of the results will be 6 months from now. But at that point, we're hoping to get a lot of students that are like, I learned a lot. It helped me in this way, and kind of dominoes from there. We also intend on adding a lot of content. So like right now, I'm sure you've heard of this, but we have like a training on commercial flat roofing, substrate damage. So we're hoping to add a lot of courses just as a benefit to a lot of the Xactimate students on just enrolling in that. Or if let's say we have a lot of students ask on one topic, they're like, I run across this daily. We might even consider authoring another white paper on it on kind of our stance. So really just providing that, permanent interaction with a trainer that really helps you in your day-to-day.
I like it. And you guys have so much knowledge. I've been fortunate to hang out with you guys some at Highway to Hail and some of these other events that we've all hung out together at. And Matt, you guys, the entire team, you guys bring so much knowledge. Mike, everyone, it's pretty awesome to see this, the back end of how this really works and what you guys are providing to the industry, because it's a lot more than just Xactimate here. I'm looking at, you said the flat roof. You're talking, there's other things in here that are just, general trainings that contractors need to be taking.
Yeah, and that was a huge hit. I think when, so the first training I ever did personally was that commercial flat roofing. And really, I kind of accumulated all that I learned on flat roofing, and I just bundled it up and I just presented it in a way where it just hit home for a lot of people, and a lot of people were like, wow, I'm going to totally pursue flat roof claims differently. And I think it really hit to us, and even like authoring a lot of the white papers that we have, we used to think, should we distribute these? Should we keep them for ourselves, for our own negotiation purposes that are honestly very powerful? And we ultimately decided that, especially even with Xactimate training, we want to teach this industry how we do things. We want to teach people how to be ethical, accurate, and it really has an effect then not just on us, but the whole industry, which in turn, all of us are successful. All of us have success with negotiating with insurance companies. We gain credibility with insurance companies, which is huge. And I don't think that's going to put us out of business. So I think for us, that's the priority, is making this side of the industry better.
No, I agree, man. And I think it's awesome. I think it's so cool. I'm proud to endorse this and to, encourage our viewers and everyone that's a part of our sphere, whether it be an Art of the Supplement or Balance Claims, to check this out, because this is something that, in my opinion, this is a game changer. In the past, like you said, you had to go to a class, you had to sit there and go through a 3 or 4 day course, and that's good. And there's a lot of good things that you can learn from instructors. I know that there's a lot of really gifted instructors that teach these courses, but in 2020, as well as, all the busyness and everything else that's going on, to have this option that's a very comprehensive and very well put together option of Xactimate training, this is something that everyone needs to be looking into.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. We're really excited for it. We're excited to get feedback, good or bad. We're always going to change it and make it better, but we think it's a great start. So,
no, this is awesome, man. Kudos to you guys, and thank you so much for showing it to us and giving us a little behind-the-scenes peek into what this looks like. I can't promote it enough. Like, people need to get on there and check this out right away.
Yeah, thanks so much, John. We appreciate it for sure.
Hey, thank you. It's good to see you, man. Thanks so much for watching today's show. Make sure to like and subscribe our pages so that you can stay up to date with every episode. And by the way, this show is all about you, the American contractor. Be sure to comment and let us know what you want to hear about and what subjects you want us to touch on. We'll be sure to include them in a future episode. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great day.